Welcome back to SouFLoTV again, everybody. It's your host with the most. Listener, just go ahead and hit that subscribe button, please. And we're going to talk about this baby boom shock. Baby boom shock. Printed in the Jamaica Observer today, December 19th, 2021. Listen to this. Nearly 60,000 births in the last decade alone from girls who are under 20 years old. In other words, then, teenagers having babies at this alarming rate. 60,000 in one decade, one 10-year period alone. Jamaica has seen almost 60,000 births to mothers under the age of 20 over the last decade. The whopping total is actually 59,591 births to adolescents. Teenagers were recorded between 2009 and 2019, according to data that was provided by the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, or Statin. This number accounts for 16% of total births within that period. In other words, it's a whole lot of females, young females, teenagers that are having babies. You know, this is very interesting because I've heard people comment before, read the comments on SouFLoTV and other places where I've seen people say, hey, teenage motherhood is mashing up Jamaica. It is a big part of the social decay issue. And for a while I couldn't see it, but I tried to make sense of it. And this article right here makes perfect sense. So again, shout out to the Jamaica Observer for this one. But listen, think about this logically. When you have, say for instance, a teenager gets pregnant at 15 years old and she mothers a child, right? At 15 years old. Now imagine her daughter getting pregnant at 15 years old. What we have is a 30, 31, 32-year-old grandmother. That's crazy. So at 16, 17, their mother got pregnant, was a teenage mom. Now the child is following in the mother's footstep as well. So what you're having now is generation after generation of teenage pregnancy. So grandmother can't contribute much. She's in her 30s. And in a lot of cases, her and her daughter, they're looking at the same men. Because these aren't stable families that these women are coming from, right? It's not a union of marriage. So they're out there dating and they're changing man as they go by. Yes, I used to date so-and-so. I'm with so-and-so now. In many cases, you have a situation of over time, what you'll look back and see is one female with multiple children from multiple different men. That number, 60,000 or 59,500 and change in only 10 years, that's a staggering number. Definitely can see how it connects to the socioeconomic issues that are taking place in Jamaica. Now, in addition, the Jamaica Observer has learned that some of the young mothers account for multiple births. Joke ya make. So she had her first one at 15, and then her second one at 16. Some of them have 4. 15, 16, 17, 18, and she's just turning 19. Dr. O'Neill Ankle, principal at Jonathan Grant High School, told the Sunday Observer that prior to the novel coronavirus pandemic, he counted more than 18 young women at his school who had already had children. One of them already had 2, he said. That's the same reason I was going on like that. I met with 18 of them. And we talked and we shared things. And these children are not dunce. They are bright, he said. Uncle was making reference to a virtual orientation session that went viral last September, in which he was heard telling his young male students 2 minute man. Uno put a lock upon your penis and calm yourself and concentrate upon the 9 of or 5 subjects that you're going to do and stop focus upon front. Uncle explained that his candid and passionate talk with the students, it was only driven by the reality at the school. Realistic, he added, that affects students' studies. Student mothers, he said, they would ask, "Sir, can I go home?" When he asks, "Why do you want to go home?" the student, he said, would respond, "Sir, the lady who is taking care of my child is leaving, and I don't have anybody to take care of my child, sir." What do I do? Do I tell the student she can't go? She has to go, he said. Uncle, however, told the Sunday Observer that from observation, schoolboys aren't solely responsible for impregnating their peers. Schoolboys are not solely responsible for impregnating their peers. This is where it gets really deep and interesting. Watch this. Now, he said that while many of the students would have got pregnant courtesy of their young boys, young boyfriends, many are done by adults that are not schoolboys. Adults, we mean over the age of 21 and upwards. Adults that are in jobs and they're not young boys, but in young boys are a part of the issue. It's going to come down to education and letting them understand the importance of education and its true sense, and that to carry a child in this world is a responsible activity, he said. And to take care of that child and manage the education where you want to have your subjects and move on to university, those two things don't really walk hand in hand in the same lane, because you now have the responsibility to try and get an education and to take care of a mouth that you never really prepared yourself for, he added, noting that in most cases the fathers leave the young mothers to fend for themselves or to drop out of school. Former National Director of Jamaica Youth for Christ, JYC, Reverend Harold Blair Jr., told Sunday Observer that the number of births to adolescents was alarming. He further reasoned that these births contribute to the decline of Jamaica. A vast majority of these children will be the boys that are standing on the roadside. A vast majority will be the children who have children. The worst thing happening in Jamaica right now is, one, our uncontrollable desire to allow the sexual culture to go the way that it is going, and two, the fact that this large number of teenage pregnancies is contributing to the negative climate and the negative economy of our country as well, he said. Now, when I was growing up, children went to church even if their parents didn't go to church. Now, a lot of these children, they're not going to any church. So when, and this is not to speak of religion and say that church is the all ends with, all begins with, the right and proper way to go, but there is some level of stability. There is some level of giving an account for. You learn responsibility. There is some level of humanity that is taught through church. A way to look at life then, in a hopeful manner, in a respectful and a loving way. That is taught through church. We know there's a lot of foolishness going on in the church, but the basic foundation of a nation like, say, Jamaica, for instance, who has the most churches per square mile in the world, that we are in the Guinness Book of World Records for. So to some level, if we have that many churches and we are that churchical, then there is some good that is being taught in the churches. Right? Alright. Most of these youths will not be going to church. Teenage mothers having children and then growing those children to be teenage mothers again, grandmothers, 30 something years old, so on and so forth, right? What can she really tell her children though? So when I meet these boys, he says that now a lot of these children, they're not going to church. So when I meet these boys in Olympic Garden and them tell me, say, he's 15 years old and him is a gunman, I can understand, because he has no sense of value. The lack of value for life has to be addressed, is what he said. Listen to this part. You look at our gunmen today, right? Just walking up into a crowd or jump off a bike back into a crowd and just shoot up people or execute someone in front of everybody on a regular basis. Or just even if you look at how a person would take a small, minuscule amount of money, you would call that a dinner money, to actually go take a person's life and call themselves a contract killer, and this is the way that they make their living or they get their money. And you have to think that when they're being raised, right, in this manner from this young, then the whole value thing, the whole appreciation for life and all this, it's not really being taught to them. It's not really being instilled in them as they're growing up. So they grow up cold. You understand? It's nothing for them. It's nothing for them to walk into a crowd. It's nothing for them to walk out into a crowd, shoot somebody in the crowd, because nobody has taught them that, listen, life is valuable and karma is real. You know, nobody sit down and really reason with them like this. That's crazy. And to some level it sounds weird, but it's crazy. He said the vast majority of these children will be boys that are standing on the roadside, and the vast majority of them will be children who have children. And the worst thing happening right now, our uncontrollable desire to allow the sexual culture to go the way that it is going. And two, the fact that this large number of teenage pregnancies is contributing to the negative climate in Jamaica. How can you argue with that? Those being born today and those in primary school, they learn the life skill of conflict resolution, or they should learn the life skills of conflict resolution, respect, and value, so that they grow and the country itself can be a better place, he said. So he's talking about the things that need to be done now, right? Yeah, you look at our gunmen just walking up in crowds, shooting up people, or just doing whatever they want, and they've lost all sense of value of life. Hence the reason they act this way. Spend time and money on making sure that the children, those being born today and those in primary school today, learn the value of life skills and conflict resolution skills, respect and value for life, so that they can grow and then the country itself will become a better place. And it's true. But early pregnancy does not mean that it is all lost, you know, argued 31-year-old Peter Gay Pinnock, who became a mother at age 15. Today, she has 5 Caribbean secondary education certificates, or what we call CSEC subjects. She has 5, and she is a scholarship recipient at the University College of the Caribbean. She said that my advice to teen mothers is to go right back to school. Don't wait. There are places that are free or come with a small fee. I know it's hard, and you might think that there's no way to get back on track, but I can tell you that there's always a way. You just have to be determined to succeed, and you will. If I was as determined as I am now, I would already have achieved all I'm achieving now. So take the step while you are young and be as driven, dedicated, and determined, and all things will be possible, she added. Another person named Otisa Wilmot, past head girl of Green Pond High School, she also got pregnant during high school with 6 grade 1s in grade 11. Now, Wilmot was the top CSEC performer at Green Pond in 2020. She hopes that her success, despite her pregnancy, shows other young girls in a similar situation that it is not the end of the road for you, right? You're young, you get pregnant, don't give up. Don't just sit there and become a ghetto dweller baby mother and end up having more kids and no education and stuff like that. Nip it in the bud and go on, right? My words of advice are to never give up, and they should believe in themselves and know that if they weren't strong, they would not have been able to survive childbirth. It's not the end of the road for them, as there will always be trials and struggles, but we are mothers now and our children need us to pave the way for a better future for them, she said. Now that's a mature outlook, but let's be honest. How many have gotten to that place of maturity, right? Now, being a teenage mom means that it's not just you anymore. You have a young one that's looking up to you now, and they need to see that you are strong and that you are doing what is right, she said. And she also added that many teen moms get pregnant a second time because of their families turning their backs on them. So, little Teresa get pregnant, mommy and daddy kick her out. Teresa don't have anywhere to stay, so Teresa go shack up with boyfriend's parents. Boyfriend's parents say, come, because you're having our son's child, right? Your parents don't want you at home anymore. Well, while they're there, they're not doing any parent planning or parental planning or any of that. She gets pregnant again. So now she's 16 pregnant or 17 pregnant again when she had her first one at 15 or 16, you understand? And that is what she's basically saying, that a lot of them get pregnant again because when it happened the first time, family turned their backs on them. When in factuality, I could actually see that happening. Because, you know, if you never throw her out and you say, listen, come, it's not the end of the world. Enough people have baby at teenage years, but don't let this be your stop. We can help you now while we can, right? So come in, make we help you. And allow her to go back to school and help her. Not just fling her out and say, me no mind no picnic in you. And me tell you, say, if you breed me, I dash you out the road. And see how you go breed and take belly and lick a picnic age. Come out. That does nothing to better the situation. It just gets worse after that. You can leave your comments in the comment section below how you feel about that particular part right there. Now, she says don't let that stop you because people will always leave when things aren't in their interest. She's talking about like the baby daddies leaving them, whether it was a grown man or it was a youth that was their age group. Most of the baby daddies are leaving these teenage mothers, right? There's no longevity to the relationship. And she's most times left with no education and a child to raise. Just know that a higher education is what's going to prove to the world that we are survivors, and one wrong judgment in life, she said, can't spoil your future forever. We're going to continue to work hard and excel because we are not just living for ourselves. We are now living for our children as well, which again is a very mature mind state to arrive at. I will never let anyone or anything stop me because my son is counting on me, she said. And this is Wilmot, right? However, Principal Uncle believes that there is a need for guidance for youngsters, especially for the young men. He said, I don't know where the fathers are who can help these young men to understand that, listen, what is between your legs is not something that you throw all over the place, you know. It's something that you manage under control. And I can't say it any plainer. It makes no sense. I pretty this up. Boys getting these girls pregnant, adults getting these young girls pregnant, soldiers and police getting these young girls pregnant. You know, I mean, I add my own in there, you know, soldiers and police getting these young girls pregnant, married man with their own families getting these young girls on the side pregnant, have to hide the baby can't even come around, daddy can't even spend proper time with the child because he already has a family, and these kind of things. Imagine that, soldier and police getting these young girls pregnant, and the list goes on, right? The man say, I can't pretty it up for them. Soldiers out here getting these young girls pregnant. All pastor getting these young girls pregnant. Pastor in it too. And I've seen some cases, trust me. I can write a book, Uncle said. They believe that they can just go around and become sperm donors because it's an image in our culture, you see. We know that as the Gallus image, don't? It's an image that we need to get rid of. They just believe that they can go around and have children and move on to our next girl. And it's something that I've been trying to get into the boys at Jonathan Grant. When you see me go on the way I went on, it's because I live it. I experience it yearly, he said. Started by the data on pregnancy among adolescents, Reverend Stephen Smith, Baptist minister and guidance counselor at Calabar High, called for swift justice, especially for underage girls who are impregnated. These figures are quite staggering. In fact, they are alarming. It speaks to what is happening in our society and what needs to be done as it relates to those who are responsible for impregnating those who are underaged. According to the law, remember, the law in Jamaica says 16 is the legal age of consent. We've been saying this on SouFLoTV for years, and we've been on YouTube now for 6 years saying this. The age of legal consent alone contributes. Because you see, when a 16-year-old feels emboldened, mind you, a lot of them are doing this, experimenting, trying out thing, getting inveigled into, coerced, even molested, and all these other things. But if the law of the land gives a 16-year-old all that rope, all that length, then 16-year-olds are going to step into it, into the role like, me at 16, the law say, me have the right for consent at this age. So me ready for take man. And even a parent can't go and say, hey, hello, this man is dealing with my daughter or having relations with my daughter and she's only 16. Because the law is going to back her up and say, well, did she consent? And if she say, yes, my consent is my man, guess what? The parents can only do stuff like throw her out or whatever, them can't stop it. So belly a come anyway. Giving a 16-year-old all that power when they don't even have anything in place to help them after baby comes, It's just a setup for failure. Now, he said that these figures are staggering and in fact they are alarming. And it speaks to what's happening in our society and we need to be done as it relates to those who are responsible for impregnating these underage girls. According to the law, we need, as a nation, to allow the law, where these things are concerned, to have teeth. Because we don't have laws that have teeth, bite, when a grown man messes with a 16-year-old in a place like Jamaica. Now, I've heard some people say, SouFlo, stop trying to make Jamaica look bad, man, because over in Europe are the same thing. But guess what? Their lifestyles are different and their money is different. Alright? I'm going to leave this one right here. This is serious talk though. But leave your comments in the comment section below and let's finish this conversation wholly and solely. And again, shout out to the Jamaica Observer for this one. And the article's name in the Jamaica Observer is Baby Boom Shock. You can go Google it and read the whole article yourself. And then bring your argument to this table. Let me close this by saying I've always known that the teenage pregnancy thing was a big problem, huge contributor to the downgrading of our society and our societal norms that have now turned into things that we are recognizing as strange, right? We're living in strange times now. New Jamaicans don't recognize older Jamaicans, and older Jamaicans don't recognize this new set of Jamaicans that we are seeing to a larger level. So let's have this conversation, this discussion further. Hit that subscribe button and I'll catch you on the next video. I'm out. Peace.